Go ahead. Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Opening of our meeting, I will announce our activities. Breakfast with the Easter Bunny, brought to you by the MRCC and Montague Council. Saturday, April the 12th, 9 till 11:30 at Rosedale Hall, 657 Rosedale Road South. There will be free face painting, petting zoo and pony rides, photos with the Easter Bunny and crafts, and pancake breakfast. 12 and under is $3, adults is $7. On April the 16th is Easter craft night. It'll be a floral centerpiece. 55 plus is $20 and under 55 is $30, and you can register at the township office. Our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the regular meeting of council agenda dated April 1st, 2025 be approved as amended this date to add items 3F Matheson and Rosedale subdivision and 3G Pinery Road realignment. All in favor? And that's carried. You can disclose an interest now or at any point in time during the meeting. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Abbas that the minutes of the regular meeting of council dated March 18th, 2025 be approved as presented. All in favor? Carried. Any questions? Business arising? So next we move on to our delegations. Schooley Mitchell presentation, Neil Brady.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you, Mayor and members of council for giving me the opportunity to explain what we do and how our service is a great fit for municipal government. My company provides expense reduction consulting services, and over the years, we have become experts in working with and for municipal government. To this date, we've just surpassed, we've worked with over 15% of all the municipalities in the province now. Our four main areas for delivering these services and savings have always been telecom, shipping, waste, and merchant services. But in the last few years, we've added 10 more cost categories, some of which have really been a great fit for other towns and townships throughout the province. I'll touch on a couple of those here in my little presentation in a second. The main thing, though, to keep in mind about what we do and how our service works is it's fully provided on contingency. This means we are only paid out of the savings that we can produce for our clients. If we do not find savings or if the customer declines what we recommend, there's no cost. If we do find savings and the client approves what we recommend, we basically implement all these new lower rates with your vendors and share in the savings for a period of time. So that's kind of in a nutshell sort of how the process works. To summarize, like, we ensure our clients are getting the best business services at the best price while identifying billing errors and eliminating redundancies. I have a little presentation I'll just flip over if that's okay. Can everybody see that? Yeah, okay, perfect. So just moving along here. So Schooley Mitchell's been helping towns, cities, and municipalities across Ontario lower their expenses for over 20 years. We are the cost reduction experts. Our services allow you to reallocate funds to the services that matter most. So generally, just from speaking with other CAOs and finance people and IT people for all these municipalities we work with, they tend to use the savings and sort of reinvest it or reallocate it to other important needs and services. So whether that's software upgrades, technology changes, things like that. Some towns then again are also mandated to cut costs, so that's fine too. But generally, just want to let you know, they tend to reallocate the funds saved. Where we help. So these are all of our different cost categories. I had mentioned the first four: telecom, merchant, shipping, waste. And here's all of our new ones over the last few years. Electronic logging devices, which is GPS tracking. Most towns seem to have several of those devices or fully installed in vehicles. We can review fuel costs, propane costs. I would say the big one in 2024, though, was software as a service. So that would be your Adobe, your Microsoft, your Google costs, and then a couple other, including packaging and shipping supplies, office supplies, et cetera. Generally, if you were to, add it all up, or let's say there was a town that allowed us to look at absolutely everything, usually the percentage savings is between 20 and 30%. It's about 28%. So that's what you would expect to save. And 95% of the time when we go through this review, you are able to save and stay with the existing vendor. So we're not coming in and recommending a vendor change here and a vendor change there. Generally, we can provide savings and the client stays with who they're already using now. Business problem. So this slide really just sort of shows sort of how we can do what we do. I mean, the only thing we do is expense reduction consulting. So we are just constantly dealing with all the vendors and providers that you are using today, getting pricing, making recommendations. So we're just completely in the know of all the best pricing that you can get in Ontario and how to get it. So between that, we've got 100 analysts that work out of our office in Stratford, Ontario. Depending on the category, there's different teams for the telecom person wouldn't necessarily be the same person that provides savings on fuel. So we also have 100 analysts, and then we have a proprietary software that we use that allows us to sort of analyze the bills and sort of speed up the process. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of like how we can do what we do. Where we can help, our service is available anywhere in Canada. We are the largest independent cost reduction firm in North America. And this one's important. We are not a vendor, reseller, broker, or wholesaler. So we are not vendor paid in any way. So we are only paid out of the savings we can produce for our clients. We are completely unbiased. We just want you to share as much as possible for like or better services. So it can't be, hey, you're going to save $500 a month, but your internet speed's going to go down. That doesn't make sense. It has to be the same or better. And here's the 28% savings I had mentioned earlier. Found money. Analysis completed entirely on contingency basis. Our fees are self-funded from the savings that we create. And we share in the savings 50-50 over, usually it's 36 months, but we knock 6 months off for municipalities and townships. So we share for that period of time. And then at the end, all the savings accrue to the township. We basically track it on a quarterly basis to make the calculations. It's to the penny. And these are just a few different little testimonials from some other towns, cities, districts, counties throughout the province. Here's an example, 48% on telecom. The district of Muskoka, we've done a couple times actually. Town of Amherstburg, there was 30% on cell phones, 50% on local. And this is almost the full list of all the government government customers we have now. Actually, none in Lanark County though. Although all the surrounding Renfrew County, quite a few. But at this point, zero. I've been shut out in Lanark County. And then lastly here, just to sort of reiterate this part, if there are no savings or the customer declines what we recommend, there is no charge. So the municipality is completely in charge of moving forward or not. That's why with our report, it's very realistic. I think one time in the last 14 years have we gone through this full exercise and found zero savings. So, and generally the process takes us about 8 weeks. That is it. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Just a curiosity as to when you would have last approached the county of Lanark.
Sorry, did you say why I haven't approached the county of Lanark?
When would have been the last that you approached Lanark County? You said you don't have any in Lanark County, which I did notice that you're.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never attempted, to be honest. For the most part, we've moved along kind of like, I came to this sort of line of work, I was a Bell Mobility account executive and I had a few towns and townships in like Huron County and Perth County. And then when I came into this line of work, they became quick customers, and then they were impressed with the savings. So then I was just kind of referred, right through Huron, Perth, and then, next thing you know, Perry Sound District, Algoma, and I've sort of jotted around. So there's a couple that I just, I haven't been referred into as Lanark, and I think Leeds, and I think there's the other one bordering you. So yeah, so it's not by design or anything. I'd love to work with them. So yeah, that would probably be on my radar for down the road.
Any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. So moved by Councillor Bass and second by Councillor Johnson that council accepts the presentation by Neil Brady representing Schoolie Mitchell as information. All in favor? Carried. Now we'll move on to our report of municipal officers. Our first is from our treasurer, Richard Clerk, on our 2025 final tax rate.
Thank you, Chair. In front of you this evening is the 2025 final tax rate for the Township of Montague. In order for us, similar to other years, in order for us to officially set our tax rate, we have to wait for the county. We don't really wait, they're usually right on top of it, but they have to establish the tax ratios and their tax rates as well. The school board has already established their tax rate for 2025, which is unchanged again for another year. So in front of you this evening, you do see the difference. It's broken out between township, county, and school board rates. And as I said, school board had zero change. County for Montague has a 3.035% increase, and our township rate is 3.66% on the change. So we did provide a breakout of assessed value, taxes from 2024, taxes from 2025, and the difference that folks would pay depending on their assessed value. So again, our average assessed house is just over 200,000. So on a $200,000 house, the total taxes will be an increase of $81.81, of which $24.16 is county and $57.65 is the municipality. So a relatively small increase, again, this year for council, taking into account all of the additional work, and a large portion to why it could be a lower amount again is that we've been preparing for the debenture for this building for the last 3 budgets. So it's been a slow incremental increase in preparation for that new building, and overall a relatively small increase compared to a lot of our neighboring municipalities. So in relation to that, in the August tax bill that went out last year, we did prepare a different document of where do your taxes go. So we have included it in this as well for 2025. It'll go out in the August tax bill. It's really just a breakout of where your tax dollars go. There's a lot of misconception amongst ratepayers that all of their taxes go to us. We're just the collecting agency, really. We charge for county and the school boards. We collect, and whether you pay your taxes or not, we have to pay them their portion. So we think that this is an effective tool to really just show people on a high level where your taxes really go, and what proportion goes to what. Sure.
Might be a dumb question, but since we collect the money and then we turn around and give it to Lanark, do we get a percentage for collecting that money?
No.
Why?
Maybe the Reef can answer that better, but so it's part of the services. So if they end up paying us to do that, it's gonna ultimately be in the county taxes. So the ratepayers are going to pay it, because it's still all getting charged down to the ratepayers. So I don't know if it'd be overly transparent for us to do that. And then in the school board side, same thing. We collect for the school boards, and have to do, and then just provide them the funds as well. So keeping in mind that whenever it's one tier collecting, if all the tiers collected their own, they're all gonna have staff to do that, and they're all gonna, so it is really more efficient having one collection. Obviously, it's work, but it's always been done that way. But we don't get any kind of fee, but you also don't get charged that then on your county taxes.
Yeah, I just thought the same thing. We're paying our staff to do it for somebody else and it just.
Yeah.
To me, that's.
I think really the biggest impact is that whenever you get people who don't pay taxes, and whether they choose to pay their taxes or not, we have to pay the full amount owing to the county and the full amount owing to the school board. They do not care if we haven't received the taxes, right? So we're going ahead and paying out, and we maybe haven't even collected.
It just seems that next year's getting here and you just hand it to them.
It's just,
You know, bottom of us that have to look after getting it.
I think that's what was explained, that some of the services that we're paying for, if we had a staff. That's what was explained. So if we were to charge a fee, but if we were to try and staff it, it'd cost us a lot more than just paying the fee. But yeah, so that's where collectively.
And Chair, through you, I think that's some of the reason why we came up with this document that's a full page in the messenger that goes in the fall, is that you would be surprised the amount of individuals who don't realize that a portion of their taxes are going to the county. That, you know, on a $200,000 assessment, that $821 is going to the county. So if they have issues with county roads, or county services, they need to contact the county, that we're not responsible for everything. We maybe are collecting on their behalf. So I think that's why we like to present this and put it out to everybody, to really give the big picture. So.
Thank you. This is this one.
Thank you. So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council approve the 2025 tax rate report as information as presented this date, and that council approve the recommendation of staff to include the Where Do Taxes Go document in the August messenger similar to last year, and further that council approve the bylaw presented this date for the passing of the 2025 tax rate. All in favor? That's carried. Next is our report from our treasurer deputy clerk on our 2025 budget.
Thank you. So this is the Public Sector Accounting Board portion of the 2025 budget that we tend to bring when we are passing our final tax rates. So basically, what you pass is a neutral budget between your revenue and your expenses. The Public Sector Accounting Board also requires that we provide to you expenses such as amortization that are more soft costs. We don't actually budget for amortization. And we have to present this to council, and it all comes back to asset management planning and preparing for capital replacement, and that they like to see that your amortization expense relates to kind of what you're putting into capital or what you're putting into reserves and where you sit as far as a municipal equity at the end of the year. So this year, based on the budget and the amortization that's based off of the 2024 year end of just over 857,000, it represents a surplus of 102, which means that we're sitting in a fairly good position in our replacement costs and our amortization costs. That it shows from last year when we were in a slight deficit, the council has been increasing those reserve and capital allocations, specifically with our building that we know, and that we're working towards that, that our amortization and our capital offset each other. So we are in a fairly good position. You'll see that when the final asset management plan comes back as well. So there's actually no direct financial implications in relation to this report. It's just something that we have to provide to you so that you can see if your amortization is substantially higher than what you're investing into your capital, that you're going to eventually be in a really bad position. So this council is well aware, and they've been working towards not having that.
Just a question. When it comes to reserves, do you have a formula that, let's say, based on the amount how much you put in?
So that's where the asset management plan is supposed to assist in those types of things. Keeping in mind that the asset management plan is similar to the Roseney study, that it's one specific point in time and it doesn't necessarily take into the economic factors that are happening around you. So we'll be using that as a guideline and a template to maintain current levels of service based on pricing we had from 2024. This is what our kind of changes we have to make, so that I have those numbers, but it's gonna probably come to you in May. So that's what I'm saying is you're gonna kind of see that, but that's based off of 2024 pricing. So every year, we should be kind of looking at that asset management plan, plugging in the new numbers that we have and using that to change the items that we're trying to put aside for reserves. But we already have like a decent amount of reserves for the amount that we actually collect for property tax or tax levy.
So the reason I asked that question is I was at an RVCA meeting last week or before that. And they have a $12 million budget. And for some reason, they have $7 million in their reserves. And they were told by their auditor that they should have 50% or 6 months worth of reserves in case of something happening.
So we like to have at least a year or better.
Okay.
So if our municipal levy is 3.7 million, we like to have 3.7 million plus in reserves, which we have. So that's where we like to be, but it's pretty hard. So every auditor potentially is going to provide you something different, so different than a person's financial position at home, and your ability to actually collect depending on what your assessment base is. So that's why I'm saying we've been slowly collecting each year to increase the amount for buildings to pay for this debenture. And then once we've done that, we'll be starting to see a slow increase for the replacement of equipment. That's gonna be the next one you see on the asset management plan that we're a little low on. So that will be coming up once we address the building in the next year or two. And then we'll be in a really good position. But as far as reserves, we have more than one time our municipal levy.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was my real question.
okay.
Eventually got there. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Bass, that council receives the OREG 284-09 2025 budget report, and that council adopts the OREG 284-09 report, which meets the requirements of Ontario Regulation 284-09 and outlines the preparation of the 2025 operating and capital budgets to a public sector accounting board compliant format. All in favor? And that's carried. Next, we have a report from our municipal manager, clerk, Kristen Cote, who officially took over today. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, so my first report is with respect to the community plan for safety and well-being for Lanark County and the town of Smiths Falls for 2025 to 2029. That's a mouthful. At our meeting of the 18th of March, Stephanie Gray, the coordinator for the advisory committee, presented a delegation to council to show the plan that had been drafted and requires adoption by municipalities pursuant to the Community Safety and Policing Act. So the report before you this evening is essentially looking for council to pass the resolution to adopt that plan and also acknowledge the fact that that document will be posted on the township's website pursuant to the requirements under the act. I won't go into all the details of the document that was presented. It was a very extensive presentation. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to receive them.
So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that the Corporation of the Council of the Township of Montague is committed to community safety and well-being for its citizens, and that part in section 248(1) of the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019, SO 2019, C1 Schedule 1 states that every municipality shall prepare and by resolution adopt a community safety and well-being plan, and further that the Corporation of the Township of Montague adopts a community plan for safety and well-being for Lanark County and the town of Smiths Falls 2025 to 2029 as presented by the Community Plan for Safety and Well-being Advisory Committee. All in favor? And that's carried. Our next report again is our municipal manager and clerk.
Right.
59 Uphill.
Yes. 59 Uphill Street. People probably recognize it as the property that looks like it has 4 giant golf balls on it. Those are radomes and we've received a request for a letter of concurrence, from Global Star, who is the owner, actually from their agent Powerhouse, to get a letter of concurrence from the township to support the addition of 3 additional antenna systems or radomes on the property. This is a federal initiative, so essentially the letter of concurrence that would be sent to Global Star is a formality. Really don't have any luxury of debating it. But if anyone has any questions with respect to the development on that property, I can do my best to answer it. I will just pause for 1 second because someone did make a comment to me about noise that emits from the property when walking by. They said that there was a beeping or some sort of a the word I was told was a beep or some sort of an alerting signal. So I have reached out to the agent for Global Star just to get some clarification, and they are gonna get back to me on it. Their thought is perhaps it's an element of their security system. Sort of like if you walk up to someone's house, a residential house, and they have one of those alarms where it kind of maybe makes a little ding.
You're saying that beeping sound, if that's the one that I think I've heard lots of different times. It's not there, it's over at Street Douglas building,
Okay,
but it does echo through, and
okay.
it's like an alarm system that goes, it's there. So that might just help somebody if they're looking, it may not be in at all.
The property is monitored and there is a security system there that people are alerted if there are people up too close to the fence.
Okay, oh, okay,
And so there was a question whether the person that had made the comment was on the road or if they were in close proximity to the fence. So they're going to check on the property next week and get back to me.
Any other questions?
no, I can't do anything with federally regulated company.
No.
So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council authorizes staff to issue a letter of concurrence for Global Star Canada Satellites Company. Proposed expansion to include 3 additional antenna system structures on part lot 28, concession 5, Township of Montague, municipally known as 59 Upwood Street. All in favor? That is carried. Next is our municipal manager, clerk, on our site plan control. Again, yeah.
Okay. The reason this report is being brought is twofold. At our last 2 meetings, we were dealing with a planning matter where one of the end results will be a site plan control agreement. So the main part of this report is just to explain what the site plan control process is. So the legislative requirement under the Planning Act of what sort of development would require site plan control, as well, pardon me, as well as the delegated authority for site plan control. So in 2022, prior to mid 2022, council was the approval authority for site plan agreements. So they would be, if somebody was requesting a site plan agreement, a report would be brought to council indicating that that request had been made with a recommendation, and then council would have the opportunity to make changes to the proposal that had been suggested and have a lot more input. Changes to the Planning Act in mid 2022 essentially removed that authority from council. And I believe it had to do with the Red Tape Act, trying to get planning processes through a lot quicker. So that authority was delegated to staff. And since that time, it was the planner and the clerk administrator were the parties that had delegated authority for the township. So the second part of the report is essentially saying that we do have a bylaw in effect, but that needs to be amended because yeah, we need to change the names of the people that would have delegated authority because the parties before it just doesn't make sense any longer. So the proposal is to change that to the municipal manager clerk and the planner and or their designate. If anyone has any questions about site plan control, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
So I can read off a comment from Jeff that I've received.
Sure.
And it just says, thank you for bringing this back for clarification. With the staffing we have, this bylaw does not concern me and trust that all aspects will be covered to protect other neighbors of the new or change of development. So that's everything. Okay. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council receive the site plan control report as information and that council pass the attached site plan control bylaw as per the draft bylaw presented this date. All in favor? And that's carried. And we begin our municipal manager on Matheson and Rosedale subdivision.
I think I learned how my predecessor thought. Okay. So this one, is with respect to the Matheson and Rosedale subdivision, so. I'm sure it's on Facebook, everyone's talking about this proposed new subdivision in Montague, located at Matheson and Rosedale. So the county did circulate the notice of complete application in February. The proposal is for a 41 lot subdivision. The owner is Smart Homes Ottawa, Inc. The proposed subdivision will have 3 blocks for green space. One of those green space blocks will be for stormwater, or sorry, 3 blocks for green space and a stormwater management pond. And then 1 block for a potential road network. The reason this report is being brought is the delegation bylaw for severances wouldn't apply for a subdivision. So the county is requesting comments to be submitted to them by April the 11th, I believe. And staff are working at putting those comments together. And we just sort of wanted to let you know what some of the high level concerns are that we have to date. And again, the reports that have been submitted are very preliminary. So just for clarification, when technical reports are submitted for planning applications, generally they require peer reviews by another professional in that industry. So the majority of the reports that are posted on the township's website as part of the complete application are in the peer review process. So that hasn't been completed yet. So we don't know what the final documents look like, but the documents we have are essentially preliminary or draft form. Some of staff's comments are that the documents refer to the provincial policy statement from 2020. And because this is a planning application that needs to refer to the current provincial planning statement from 2024, we just want an assurance from the applicant that that 2024 statement has been considered and complied with. So we are asking for an addendum to their planning rationale, just to make sure that that's been done. Another item that we just need a little bit more clarification on is that there is a statement in the planning rationale that 25% of the units are going to be affordable housing, but they really don't give any clarity as to how that's going to be accomplished. So we would like a little bit more information in that regard. An example of a way that a home can be considered affordable housing is the ability to have additional residential units. That's one option. Although the lot size and the septic system design might not lend itself well to allowing for additional residential units. So we'll need to see how they come back with a response to that question. And then that sort of leads into the third point that we've noted, and that is that the zoning bylaw allows for additional residential units by right within the rural residential zone, which would be the ultimate zoning designation for that subdivision. But we're unsure if that's going to be achievable based on the 1 acre lot sizes and the septic design that they have put forth. So we need a little bit more clarity on that, and if ARUs aren't going to be anticipated, then we might be looking at a rezoning just to ensure that future purchasers don't think that that's an option for them because the systems wouldn't be sized large enough to accommodate that. Number 4 is probably the one that raises the most concern, and that's the stormwater management plan and the drainage design. Staff have reviewed the preliminary, and we've also received comments from residents, and drainage is something that is of high concern. We have expressed our concerns with respect to the preliminary design to the county, and we're hoping that the peer review will take those into consideration. When they're providing their comments, we've really emphasized the fact that this is infrastructure that would be owned by the municipality and maintained by the municipality, and has the potential to cause a lot of impact to our neighboring property owners. So this is something that we're really interested in seeing what the peer reviewers come back with. Generally speaking, the subdivision appears to be good land use planning. It is in Rosedale, which is deemed to be the most appropriate settlement area for a subdivision, so that's great. So essentially, we're just kind of giving you an update on where we're at, and seeking direction from council for, I'll use the word authority, to submit our comments to the county on behalf of council. And keep in mind that this isn't the final. There will be conditions of draft approval that will be brought back, and that will be a more in-depth discussion with council, and that will be after we have all of the peer review reports in. So this is just sort of step 1. We're moving closer, but we need to submit our preliminary comments.
Questions? Okay. So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council receives staff's report on the proposed Matheson and Rosedale subdivision as information, and that council directs staff to submit preliminary comments to the County of Lanark. All in favor? And that's carried. Again, we have our municipal clerk, manager clerk, Henry Road realignment.
This is a joint effort between myself and our public works manager. So there is, I'm sure you're all well aware, there was a report brought back in March of 24 with respect to the proposed realignment of Pinery Road. That's adjacent to a property owned by a numbered company. The officer is Mr. Jabber, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Schedule A of the report has some mapping that shows the location of that realignment property. So council did direct staff to proceed with an agreement, and that agreement of purchase and sale was signed by the Reven clerk and Mr. Jabber, and contained a condition date of April the 15th. To date, we've not received any comments from Mr. Jabber with respect to the draft survey that was prepared and needed prior to preparing and passing any of the bylaws that are noted in that agreement of purchase and sale. And our solicitor has let us know that if the conditions haven't been waived on or before April 15th, essentially that agreement is null and void, considered terminated. So we're looking for direction from council on whether they want to extend the condition date to give Mr. Jabber more time to confirm his approval of the survey. In the discussion section, we do know that this has been a very lengthy process. It's been ongoing for years. And staff have spent a significant amount of time on this project. We feel that there's been a sufficient amount of time afforded to Mr. Jabber to review the document. And we recommend that if the extension is granted, that maybe April 30th would be sufficient. That still gives him a month from now to let us know if he's satisfied with the survey that's been provided to him. We all know Pinery Road is not the greatest road. It's in poor condition, and our public works staff get multiple calls daily. It's been very busy recently. And we do have we do have some work being done on that road in May that's already been scheduled. So I guess what we're looking for is some direction from council, whether they want us to, move forward with an extension agreement or not. And I'm not sure if Ed would like to chime in with any comments on Finery Road.
Just briefly, council, sure, excuse me. My main concern sort of from the public works standpoint is whether this deal proceeds or not, it may hold up work that that's required on that road. The road's in very poor condition right now. So like a clerk spoke to with maintenance gravel being planned, hopefully starting early May. There's some drainage improvements, other things that need to be done. Some of them would be held off pending a decision on this Pioneer realignment. There's no sense in reconstructing that corner if we're just gonna abandon it and then reconstruct, to proceed with realignment, right? So from my standpoint, the decision here is kind of holding up how we proceed with maintenance and repairs with Pioneer Road this season.
Question, kind of comment. Staff has spent a lot of time working on this to get to what we have now. So to not give the extra allotted time to hopefully finalize this agreement, I think would be devastating to the amount of work that was involved. I do agree that it does interfere, and hopefully maybe he gets back sooner than later. I know that's being modestly hopeful, but I do see the reason why we are pushing to give an extension. As much as that might not be the most favorable to the decision that we're wanting to push forward in fixing the road. I just hope that if we do go to that option, that maybe we get an answer sooner than later.
The email that came from our solicitor had actually suggested an extension to the middle of August, which we thought was a bit unreasonable. If council was thinking of an extension of later than April the 30th, then it would be suggested that we might include additional wording that Mr. Jabber would be responsible for any costs that the township would incur if we had to postpone or amend our contract with the company that's gonna be doing the road work as a result of having to provide that extension. So we felt April 30th was sufficient because then that wouldn't interfere. So either it's the 30th would be accomplished and that won't interfere with the project, but if it was longer than the 30th, then it could.
So when you say it's been years in the making, like literally we've been going back and forth with Jabber for years?
I'm not sure exactly how many years, but I know it's prior to current staff.
17.
Yeah, so this has been discussions back to 3, 4, maybe 5 public works managers ago. So this has been ongoing through several different solicitors for the individual. It's been ongoing for probably 8 years in relation to this. Now, again, when staff change, sometimes things drop. Whenever people change solicitors, that holds up things along those lines. But it's been ongoing for quite some time. We have pretty much completed all the surveying that was required on our behalf, which is not for nothing. That unopened road allowance, we had effectively nothing on file saying that we owned it. We now do. And it's now surveyed and it's now legitimately something that we'll be able to establish. But we're kind of in a difficult position of, we were hoping, and this council, again, Councillor Johnson, you came on a little bit later, but this council was hoping to see this completed already at this point in time. So we wouldn't really be in the predicament that we're currently in with gravel applications and the new public works manager, potentially bringing something forward with some dig outs to address some drainage issues and things like that. So it's kind of a difficult thing to say, do we continue to put time and money and effort and resources into something that may not come to fruition, may or may not come to fruition? Or do we start to address and put those concerns towards building that corner up, drawing it out, doing some alternate work? Ultimately, obviously, it's up to council. We'll do either way, but
Okay, so just follow up.
Yep.
So when I look at this, there's been some safety changes, because part of that corner was unsafe and that, so there's no immediate safety concerns. It's more, we've spent a lot of money and time trying to get this done. And so are we looking for the saw off of, let's say it's the end of the month, and then that's it? Or can you still get your work done if we wait till the 30th?
So that's, I think, when we spoke about the extension to April 30th, that hopefully still puts us in a place where we can continue. Should the deal fall through, we can still continue with our operations. I should have clarified that. The original date of August is certainly not reasonable for us to accomplish what we need to get done and not incur any extra costs from our contractors that we have the current contracts with. So that's why I recommended that date. As far as safety provisions done there, is mostly for brushing due to sight lines.
Right.
If you're not familiar with that corner, it is a very sharp corner,
Yes.
and previously you couldn't really see around that corner, you know, so now it's got good sight lines.
Yeah.
It's more an issue of the road base itself that Allison spoke to. So yes, we could proceed with raising that and some drainage and some other things. Still gonna have that sharp corner, but certainly make it a better road base and proceed from there.
Thank you.
If this does fall through, do we just proceed and scrap this? Or do we back burner this, or wait for him to approach us in 3-4 years' time, or? I just wanna know if we spent 8 years, you guys have continue to put effort in trying to work on this. We've now have better sightlines, and yes, it's a sharp curve, but if the individual's not working with us anymore, at which point do we say we tap out? And that's my question is this, are we beating the dead dog, as it were?
do you want me to take this one? So Chair, through you. So I think that there's a number of things. There's, first of all, there's always other things we can be doing. So I think that with us being such a small staff as well, to put so much resources into continually battling back and forth, that Public Works can then focus on getting you a report in a couple of weeks to say, this is what we should do, right? And this is what we can do. And if the corner, as far as safety hazards, Public Works can bring forward saying maybe it's a reduced speed or whatever the case is through that corner, but it's gonna get built up. You know, it's gonna be better. The sight lines are already good, those types of things. We can then focus our resources on other areas in the township and other roads in the township and start, like McGuire's gonna get completed, which was a safety hazard, right, with the hill. We can start focusing on other areas. I think the Public Works manager had mentioned today, there's other corners that are just as sharp as that one in other areas, and we don't get complaints. We're not aware of any major incidents there. It was more to really realign the road and clean it up. So we won't have to stop up and close that unopened road allowance that was requested. So if you think long-term, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years of all that land that's around there, that might be a development option for somebody. And then it still has that clear unopened road allowance that goes through from Weedmark to Pinery. So I think that we can't just focus on today. And like I said, we do have money into our surveying, but now we know it's ours, it's surveyed, we know exactly what's ours. And Public Works can focus on addressing other items. But you are going to see Pinery come back with a report for some things to do there, because we still feel as staff that those monies that have been allocated and set aside should still be used to address Pinery Road. But it's ultimately up to council.
Why don't we go with the cutoff date in the 30th, since it still gives you lots of time to continue with other projects? And then if nothing happens on the 30th, then we move on.
And we just go
At
with.
least
what
we
the
have a
other
chance
responsible.
for the sake of 29 days, or 20 days, whatever it is.
Can I ask one question? So, it says that Mr. Jabber in late March, was provided the draft survey. Do we know if he's received it or if he, what I'm wondering is, do you think there's a possibility he's out of the country?
Sorry, Chair, can I answer that? So, a previous draft survey was provided at the end of last year, last fall. And now it's coming down to like a little tiny piece that if we don't need it, like, anyways, we keep going back and forth. So, I'm not sure how many iterations of a draft survey, but that continues to cost us money for these little parcels that may or may not be required for the realignment, and if they're not, who wants them, right? It seems very frivolous, I guess, some of it, as opposed to just a straightforward, this is what you're giving, it's not, well, if you don't need that 2 foot by 2 foot section, I want it back then. So that's what's kind of going back and forth right now. So we can't even promise, so it's all of the communications have been through his solicitor and our solicitor, because that's where we have gotten to. So I don't know. But this is kind of where we're at, but there's been other draft iterations that have come back. Anyway,
So we have one recommendation to go with option one. Is that what you were?
Yeah, it was to the 30th, and then after that, we don't have anything to do with this
And
anymore.
be explicit when lawyer's talking, if the lawyer's talking, he says it's a little,
Yeah, cause I'd like Ed and everybody to get on with
Yeah, exactly.
other work.
there's lots of.
And if we end up well, we didn't waste the $10,000 because we did find out that other part. So for me, I just think that's, if you give one last chance
Yeah.
and then let's get on with our lives.
I agree with that.
So moved by Councillor Crabtree and second by Councillor Abbas that council direct staff to proceed with option one. All in favor? And that's carried. So moved by Councillor Johnson and second by Councillor Crabtree that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of March 18th, 2025 and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? That's carried. And then the next one, I do have a comment from Jeff, just before I read it, that says, for the Markville Public Library Board, they received our budgeted amount. So move it by Councillor Crabtree and second by Councillor Abbas that council accept the minutes of the Markville Public Library Board meeting of February 25th, 2025 as information. All in favor? Carried. Third, I do have a comment as well, just stating that, as per our budget, we did reduce the amount that was sent to the Smith Falls Public Library. I believe that, in here, it also notes that they're looking at, reaching back out to us in a different manner. Because they do have some further discussion for council. So moved by Councillor Abbas and second by Councillor Johnson that council accept the minutes of the Smith Falls Public Library Board meeting of March 25th, 2025 as information. All in favor? Carried. Petitions, so move on to bylaws. So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that bylaw 4132-2025, being a bylaw to appoint a municipal manager for the township of Montague, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of April 2025. All in favor? That's carried. I just love the date, April 1st. That's great. Our next bylaw, moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that bylaw 4133-2025, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Stephanie Elizabeth Brasso and Ryan Christopher Brasso, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of April 2025. All in favor? Is carried. Moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Johnson that bylaw 4134-2025, being a bylaw to designate Montague Township as a site plan control area, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of April 2025. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that bylaw 4135-2025, being a bylaw to establish and impose tax rates for the purpose of raising the general municipal, county, and education levies for the year 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of April 2025. All in favor? Agreed. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Abbas that bylaw 4136-2025, being a bylaw to deem registered plans not registered, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of April 2025. All in favor? Carried. So we have no motion or notice of motion. No unfinished business, other business. So before we adjourn, do I have any questions from the audience? And do I have a question? No.
On there where we have breakout of how our tax dollars are being spent, and I see there's zero amount for the airport. Does that mean that council has finally decided that we don't need to, the township doesn't need to own 25% of the airport and they're selling it, getting rid of it? It's just a liability as far as I can see.
I'll pass that over to our treasurer.
Thank you, Chair. So at this time, with the negotiations that are going on with the Smiths Falls Flying Club, the intent is that the municipalities are going to have less and less or no operational costs. So we've decided, because we have some reserves set aside, and with those negotiations and discussions still ongoing, we cut any of the taxes for the airport at this time.
But does the township still have the liability?
Yeah, so Chair, through you. So we still have the agreements that are all under discussion, including liability and insurance. And then once those discussions are completed, we'll be bringing that forward to the public of what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of our audience? No. So I forgot to mention that Jeff had a couple of points under our information items. Item B, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the thank you letter. Nice to get the thank you, the important services they do. In his work, he's well aware of how this helps kids, but also the kids that live in Montague. Item G is the Montague Forget-Me-Not Club, and another nice thank you for our support to the Forget-Me-Nots. It is so wonderful. This relationship is this strong. Number H, the Montague Public School. This is so nice from the school. Another great relationship formed. Well done, staff, for this engagement. It is being noticed and talked about. He hears it. And so if we have no more questions, moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Councillor Johnson, that bylaw 4137-2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on April 1st, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this first day of April 2025. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council adjourn the regular meeting of council of April 1st, 2025 at 6:59 p.m. until April 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the call of the chair. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Welcome to the committee of the whole, in-person live stream or electronically, Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, immediately following council agenda. Land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the township of Montague acknowledge the sacred land of which the township of Montague is now located. And this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Adoption of the agenda. Committee of the whole. Moved by Councilor Bass, second by Reed Jennings, that the committee of the whole agenda dated April 1st, 2025 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? We have no delegations. Reports from municipal officers. A. Treasurer Deputy Clerk. Alison Barakin.
Thank you, Chair.
Economic Development, Local Business Collaboration.
Thank you, Chair. As you'll recall, this came back last year and is slated to come back to council on an annual basis, just to provide an update on where we're standing with the 2018 Economic Development Local Business Collaboration Strategic Plan. So just a quick review, there's been a number of items, again, keeping in mind that we have zero in the budget for economic development, so we try to work and come up with alternative and effective solutions to get some kind of ECDEV out there at limited to no cost. So in 2024 for the final tax bills, our Grace did reach out to municipalities and posted for anybody who wanted to provide their business cards for a support local type of initiative in the tax billings. We didn't have a lot of uptake on it. It was very limited. We'll continue to reach out again in 2025 and see if we can get some more businesses that may provide it. The messenger from this, now that we've upped our messenger and what's in that information, we are finding even with this March installment that there's a lot more people reading the messenger for the items that are in there, such as the free composters and kind of what initiatives and things that are going on in the municipality, which is good. So we'll continue and we'll try it again. It's one page of our messenger. It's not a huge cost to us. The 22 acres. So council did choose a name on the 22 acre park for now. And once more of the park space is completed, council had noted that a report should come back and potentially put out naming rights of the park. So update and print our tourism brochure and staff created in 2023. So that was completed and done. So for 2025, as we had kind of mentioned to council before, we're looking at a welcome package for new residents to the township with information such as, but not limited to, well water care, septic care, tax information, so your payment options, online documents, your PAP setup, all those kind of things. Recreational and social information, all of the local business information that we do have. Fire permitting and information, road information, gravel roads and what to know about gravel roads and living on a gravel road, especially if you're moving from more of an urban area. Waste and recycling information, etc. So these packages are going to be built by each of the departments. So your building and planning information, the planning pamphlet that Kirsten had done up previously, all that information will be together for these new residents. It will have a limited cost to us as well, as we'll print them here and mail them out or provide them to the individuals when they come in, and usually they come in and ask questions about garbage and recycling the most. The monthly highlight of businesses, again, wasn't completed because we didn't have a lot of uptick on that initiative, but again, we'll keep, if we get more, we will do this. So the events continued throughout the year, and as well, we continued and worked on our collaboration with the Montague District Senior Forget-Me-Not Club, and with getting the Senior Active Living Center funding provided by the province, that will continue to enhance and grow as well. The industrial lands, the report was provided by the junior planner, and basically with the inability to build, but potentially alternative options such as gravel parking space for access to the OVRT or to the snowmobile trails in the winter to try and allow for that kind of an economic development initiatives. So that was kind of the overall from 2024, not a lot, but we are continuing to work towards some of the strategies that we can effectively do with no budget or very little.
Any questions?
It's not a question, it's a comment from Deputy Reeve. Great update. There has been some great movement and we should be very proud of all accomplished. Lots of success. Looking forward to the welcome package development, continuing with the 22-acre park and supporting and funding of the MRCC, and emphasis on we should be very proud. Thank you.
Yes,
No.
thanks for that. Moved by Reeve Jennings, second by Councillor Johnson, that council approves recommendations in the economic development, local business collaboration report as presented this day. All in favor? Treasurer, Deputy Clerk Alison Vraken, LAS 1 investment account update.
Thank you, Chair. This is a report in relation to our investment account. So in 2018, the township approved a transfer of reserve funds into an LAS 1 investment program to benefit from a greater interest earning ability than their general bank account. So municipalities are regulated under OREG 43897 on what type of investments they can invest in. And it's usually very safe, like bonds, mutual, that kind of thing. So LAS 1 investment is a good option for us. There is some information in the report as far as if anybody wasn't really sure what they were. It's similar to, we also use the LAS canoe procurement. So same type of function as for municipalities, kind of that big purchasing power. Same thing, municipalities can all invest their money and get that better rate of return. So we're recommending that we still continue to use that for a number of reasons. We can invest money. It's not locked in like any kind of mutual funds or things like that. So we could put money in this week and pull it out next week. It's not locked in. It can come out at any time. And usually if I submit the documents today, we would have the money tomorrow or the next day. So it's very quick. So I went back to 2022. Just to provide council opening balances, the investments that we either made or the withdrawals we took out, and the interest income that we've realized over the last couple of years. So 2023, 2024, you will see has both been 250,000 plus. It's been our interest rate has been anywhere from 4 to 5 or over 5%. And we've withdrawn 1.3 up to February. To start to fund some of our payments for the building. So we have also began to draw on the construction loan for the building. And as we draw on that, we'll be paying back and reinvesting the money into LAS from our other reserve allocations. Right now, we're still getting a better rate of return on our investments with LAS than what we're paying on our construction loan. So it is really better for us to pull on the construction loan and keep our funds invested at this time. With the continued Bank of Canada rate, it tends to be going downward right at the moment with the unknown economic impacts, I think. So by the time we go to lock in our borrowed money, this Bank of Canada rate could even be down further. It has reduced from 3.75 in October to now at a 2.75. So we'll wait to see and make those decisions on exactly what our borrowing is going to look like. But right at this time, based on the current status of the building, where we're at with the building and the leftover really projects that potentially might have some change orders, we're sitting in a fairly responsible situation and there's no concerns at this time, but I just wanted to provide council this as a clarity and to the public so they know where our money is or their money is and what's happening with it.
So what was the drop dead date for locking in? Is that in here?
Locking in this?
Yeah.
So it has to be completed and you have up to 2 years after completion to lock in.
So,
If we're investing with Infrastructure Ontario,
okay,
not with a bank.
okay, so we're also getting a good rate of return with this. So is it really like a GIC more than anything else?
Basically, they take it and they invest all the monies, but because they have so much for us, they don't make us lock in. Cause they can kind of
They can
move
flow
money around and you don't actually have to lock in. So that's where I find it beneficial to us is that we're never locked in. So if
Okay.
something, if a major emergency happened, we can pull and draw on it.
Okay.
Obviously with GICs, you normally offset them on what year and how much you can pull
Yeah.
off or pull out. But for locking in, and that's why I said, I think we're gonna wait and we're gonna see what the economy does, what the Bank of Canada does with their interest rates. And then we'll bring a discussion back, because even if we see the trend going downward and if they provide notice in December that they're gonna drop again another 0.25% in January, we'll wait to try and lock in and get our interest rate until after that time.
Yes. With the way the tariffs are on and off again, we really don't know if we'll get pushed into recession, which will drive our rates down further. So it's good that we have up to 2 years.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the question I had.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have those full discussions. We bring monthly reports, but that's kind of the thought process is that currently we're watching the market to see what it's doing. And then if it continues to drop, we could technically fund ourselves for a little while and then do that.
Okay, thank you.
Again, through Deputy Reed. Great update and transparency on being responsible with our money and also how we can maximize our reserves, which only helps with our tax rate and service levels.
Awesome. Moved by Councillor Johnson, second by Councillor Bass. The council receives LAS1 investment account update. Report presented this date as information. Okay. The municipal manager clerk Kristen Cote road assumption bylaw.
Okay, so the report you have before you relates to an assumption of road that would be accomplished pursuant to a severance application. So it's very standard in severances to include a condition for properties that abut a township road. That road widening might be required as a condition of consent. And the standard procedure is that the survey that's drafted by the surveyor would be provided to the municipality to review prior to it being deposited to ensure that we have a sufficient amount of road adjacent to the subject lands. And if road widening is deemed to be necessary because the road isn't wide enough or perhaps realignment is necessary, then the owner or the applicant for the severance would be responsible to have this portion surveyed to our satisfaction and then deeded to the township free of any encumbrances. So that would mean things such as executions, liens, or mortgages. And all of the costs that would be associated with that transfer of land to the township would be the expense of the applicant for the severance. Back in 2023, there was a report that was brought to council with a very long list of roads that had never been assumed by the township by bylaw. And so that was a bit of a process. So the proposal suggestion would be that each time we receive a road widening transfer, that we bring that report to council as they're received, so that we're staying on top of that process. Back in 2023, there was a little bit more work required because some of the manners in which the township held title were inaccurate, so that our legal name was not used on all of the transfers appropriately. Additionally, there's a section of the Municipal Act that, if included in the statements in the transfer, precludes the municipality from having to register that bylaw on title, so obviously that's an additional expense to have our lawyer do that for us, so, by including that, section 31(6) of the municipal act, we don't have to register those bylaws on title any longer, so it would simply just be a matter of bringing the bylaw to council to pass, and that's just a matter of our record.
Moved by Councilor Bass, second by Reeve Jennings. The council passed the attached road assumption bylaw, assuming a portion of the township owned road into the township's road system as per the draft bylaw presented this date. All in favor? No reports of committees, no petitions, no motions or notice motions, no unfinished business or other. Adjournment.
No.
Oh, questions?
Question for me.
Sorry, Tom, I forgot you were there.
On the package that you're gonna get ready for new people moving into the township, is that information going to be available on the website so you can go in? Because local business information changes and not everybody knows what local businesses are available in the township. So is that going to be, could that be on the website so we can go in there and look at it?
Probably is some data.
Chair, through you, it will be also available on the website, but we'll just have printed documents here at the office to either mail the individuals, and also obviously advise them to follow us on Facebook and on our website. But it will have kind of a underneath, the township section of, all of that information, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's always nice to get a piece of mail that says, welcome.
Oh, for the
It's
new,
not Bill.
for new people moving in, yes, I agree, but I mean, just for residents that are here, that have been here for years.
Yeah.
You don't know the businesses that come and go in the township.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions online? We're not very popular today. Moved by Reeve Jennings, second by Councilor Johnson. The committee of the whole meeting April 1st, 2025, now be adjourned at 7:23 PM on April Fools. All in favor?